Welcome! In today's lesson, we're talking about Google Share, sharing our drives, our folders, and our files. The ability to share documents and work in collaboration together is one of the most useful things about Google Drive. But what's going on when you're doing that whole sharing thing? First, we're going to talk about a broad concept overview with some visual aids, and then I'm going to tell you how to actually do it, how to actually share your files and your folders with other people. By the end of the lesson, hopefully you'll be able to recognize the different sharing icons you'll find inside your Google Drive. You might find it as a little person with a plus symbol in the Drive menu bar if you're just looking at files and folders. If you're actually working inside a file, you might see it as a blue button in the upper right corner. And if you uploaded some kind of other file format, maybe a PDF or a JPEG, you're going to find it under the 3-dot symbol as a drop-down menu choice. You'll still find it there as a little person with a plus. You just have to click on the 3 dots first, and then you go to the share. For the purposes of the lesson, we are all members of the Adult RE committee at our church. We have a chair who's going to be the super owner of our team Google Drive. Because they're the chair, they get the adultre@orlandouu.org email. Then we have certain files that go to the general public and church friends who might be interested in taking classes with us. An example of that would be a brochure or a flyer. You want everybody to be able to look at that. But then there's restricted areas that's only for the Adult RE committee members and maybe the Adult RE teachers. It's more sensitive stuff that you don't want the general public to get into. Here are the sharing levels in Google Drive divided into 2 areas, things that are public access, things that are restricted access. And depending on what you set your sharing toggles to, in the public access area, you could allow someone to view the flyer, view the brochure, look at all the promotion things for Adult RE. Maybe you want to give them a limited pencil. They can't do anything to the file, but they can make a little comment on the side. Maybe in certain conditions, you want to give anybody on the internet the ability to edit something. That's a special case, and we'll explain that. The things in blue under this area that I will explain is view and edit. Over here on the other side, we're going to talk about restricted access areas. Files and folders you want to restrict the link to, and you're going to give the cool kids, access to this, not the general public, just the people in the club. And in this sense, it would be the Adult RE committee members and the Adult RE teachers. You can set the toggle so that they can view something, they can have a limited pencil, just comment to the side, or you can give them the full green pencil where they can make changes and edit the file. One thing you get in restricted toggle access that you don't get with the public side of things is when you want to set somebody as the new owner of a file or a folder. Not the whole drive, just the new owner of this one file or folder. Because the things are so similar, I'm going to limit the restricted access examples to comment, which we haven't seen yet, and owner of a file or folder. Okay, so let's dig into the concept overview. So here's the chair of the Adult RE Church Committee. I'm going to call them the owner. They're the owner of some of the files and things. They get a little crown because they are the all-powerful owner. And here we see that they've made some folders and files on their PC laptop. Now, if the members of the Adult RE committee want to see the files, they might have to meet in person with the chair so they can kind of peek over their shoulder and look at the files and the folders. Maybe they all bring a USB drive so that they can also have copies of the files from the owner's PC. Or maybe the owner decides to share the files and folders over email to all of the committee members. Some of the problems to working this way, where the owner is keeping the files and folders that belong to the team on their personal device, is this. managing in-person meetings and updating all the USBs. What if somebody's absent? How are they going to get it? Do we even have computers that are compatible with each other? What if the PC laptop stuff that you've given me on my USB won't open on my Mac at home, or vice versa? What if somebody got left out of the email chain or missed a meeting? What happens then? And then if we're editing things on an adult RE brochure, if you made changes to the class and I made changes to the class and Bob and Sally made changes to the class, which one's the definitive version, the latest and greatest? And then what's going to happen when the chair retires? Where do the files and folders go? In a previous lesson, we learned this phrase, on the cloud. It's not really a mysterious phrase. There's nothing in the sky above us on the cloud. What it really means is that there are physical computers, much more powerful than our personal laptop, residing in some kind of a warehouse building. It's called a computer server farm, and they store a lot of things for us. They can include storing the church team Google Drive for the adult RE committee. They could store somebody else's Google Drive for some other church committee somewhere else, but we're only interested in our own church committee drive. Now let's look at the difference. The owner or chair of the adult RE committee decides to use their PC laptop to get on the internet. And with the internet, they go to the church team Google Drive. And that's where they decide to make the folders and make the files. Notice that the files and folders are not saved on the little PC bubble. They're over in the church team Google Drive. So now the rest of the adult RE committee can come and use the internet with their device, and it could be one person on a Mac, one person on a PC, somebody else on a tablet of some kind, somebody else on some kind of smartphone, but all of them have internet, all of them have a web browser, all of them can go to the hub, the church team Google Drive for the adult RE committee. Some of the benefits of working this way is it doesn't matter now if you have a PC and I have a Mac and they have a tablet. All you need is the internet and an internet browser. It can be any device to get to our hub, our church team Google Drive. Nobody's going to be left out of a file that went around over email because they know the address of the drive. They can just go to the drive and find the file or folder that they need. When we work independently, or if we're working at the same time collaboratively, anybody changing or making updates to files and folders, we know that the latest and greatest is in our drive. We're not going to struggle anymore with different versions flying around in different people's machines. Everything is together in one place. The other benefit is that when the chair retires, they can pass on the ownership or access to the team drive to the next chair, and everything is there in the hub for that new chair. It's not over in the PC that belongs to the old chair. The chair or co-chairs who are acting as the owner of the Adult RE Google Drive do not have to give the entire Adult RE committee the same levels of access. They can do some differentiation. So what do I mean by that? It just depends on how much power or access to a certain file or folder they care to give. For instance, the least secure would be anybody on the internet with the link to this file. Well, they can look at it. That's going to be useful in certain situations. Another step above that might be anybody on the internet with this link. Well, they can edit this file. That's got a limited usability. It's not super secure. Another thing you might want to do is restricted, but to one file. The specific person with this link that you invited can make comments on the side. They don't get to edit your document, they just can put little comments. Of course, if you did want them to edit your particular file that you're giving them access to, you could set it that way when you set the toggle. On a team, when you collaborate and share jobs, you might want to give restricted area, not just to one file, but to a whole folder area. That way the people that you added can make new files, can make new folders inside this area, as well as editing the things that are already there. So let's look at some real-life church examples from an adult RE committee. Let's say I'm having a class called Spirit in Practice and I've made a flyer for it. Well, that document I want everybody to be able to see because I want them to sign up for class if it interests them. That would be an example of a document that I have decided to share, like anyone on the internet with this link can look at it. For security, you really don't want anyone on the internet with the power to edit all the time. But one example where it might be useful as an adult RE teacher is when I'm setting up a lesson brainstorm. I don't know my students yet. All of them haven't registered, so I don't know their emails. I can't share this using the email method. But what I could do is make my lesson document where we're going to do this brainstorm about spiritual growth and different things that could nourish our spiritual growth. And the students have to fill in the box. What are your personal practices that you already do? In this limited situation, I could just go ahead and make this document to anyone on the internet with the link can edit the file. And then when I have my Zoom class, I can put that link in the chat window and invite the students to participate and fill it in. Then later, when the lesson is over, I just go back and change the access to restricted so people just can't keep adding stuff to the brainstorm forever. It's just a limited window of the green pencil edit. What would be an example of restricted to one file, like a limited red pencil? You don't really get to edit my whole document, you just get to leave me a little note off to the side. Maybe I have the lesson plan and I have a colleague or a teacher friend or someone I want some feedback, like, hey, is my lesson plan okay? Or do you have supplies I can borrow for my lesson plan? I could set my document to give this particular specific person access to my file so they could comment to the side like that. In this particular example, it's a lesson plan where we're going to do some moving meditation. You see it in the highlight bar. That's one of the activities of the lesson. And they left me a little comment that says that they left the folding chairs and the yoga mats for me in the Classroom A closet. So while you might want to give restricted access to one specific files to somebody who's not usually on your adult RE committee team or one of your adult RE teachers this year, for the team members, it's much easier to just give them access, restricted access, to a whole folder. That way they can get to everything inside without you having to give permission individually by file by file by file. You just say, everything in this folder, you can get to it. Club this year, so here's your green edit pencil, and this allows the person to make new files and folders inside this restricted area as well as editing existing things. When you share a folder with someone this way, you're going to see that little folder icon change from a plain one to one that has a little person inside. That lets you know that you shared this area with someone. So there you go. We talked about the pros and cons of where you're going to store your adult RE committee's files and folders. All of the cons, if the owner decides to keep the files and folders just on their personal device, and the problems you can bump into. And then some of the pros of changing how you work in your volunteer life for the church committee, in adult RE, if that chair decides to just use their laptop, but we're going to store our files and folders over here in the adult RE Google Drive. That way others can access it and help change things and manage things, and delegating becomes a lot easier for you, and so does passing the crown when you decide to retire. So that was part 1, the high concepts. Let's move on to part 2. How do I actually do it? How do I share those files and folders with people on my team?